Hi students, I wanted to pick up where we left off in the online portion of the class so you can complete the assignment that is due for next week with the chart and so forth. I want to open up your file. We named the file Class Sales Lab. You should know where you saved it. And once you open it up, if you recall, one of the last things that we worked on is we added another column label called Net. And what we're going to do there is we're going to input a simple subtraction formula that's going to calculate the net sales. So we're going to take total sales minus expenses to calculate the net sales. Now before we do that, I want you to understand the mathematical operators that can be used in Excel. So I'm going to pull open this PDF file, and I've got a table here, and all formulas begin with equals. All formulas begin with the equal sign. So when you select a cell, you hit equals. It tells Excel, here comes a formula. If you want to add, you use the mathematical operator plus, just like you learned in elementary school math. Subtraction is the minus symbol. The asterisk is multiplication. Division is the slash. You can use parentheses if it's a multi-operational number sentence. So in other words, 1 plus 2 times 3, the parentheses would dictate what would be calculated first. You can use percentages. So 10%, you can see in this table, is 10%. 10 with a percentage symbol. It actually reads it as a decimal, 0.1. So in other words, 50% would be 0.5, and so on. And as far as the caret, you guys won't have to worry about it. We're not going to get anything too advanced in this course, but it's exponentiation. So it's like saying 2 to the power of 3. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet, and this is where I'd like you to follow along just to finish up what we did not finish in class. So you are going to select cell P5. And in P5, we're going to input a formula. So I'm going to find my equals key. Now, if you guys are working on a standard keyboard, the equals key is to the left of the backspace button. So when I hit the equals key, you can see in the cell right there, you see equals. And you can either type or point and click. So I want to take total sales here, which is N5. You see when I click on it, how it populates the cell over here. Now we're subtracting, so I want to type in the minus symbol. And we're subtracting expenses, which is O5. Click on that. So if you take a look at the cell here, we're taking N5 minus O5. When I hit my enter key on my keyboard, you can see it performed that calculation. Now once again, I said things aren't always the way they appear in Excel. It looks like there's a number in cell P5, but when I click on it, clearly, if you take a look at the formula bar up here, you can clearly see that there's a formula there. So you can see if expenses change, I'm going to have you select O5 and you change the 5,600 to simply 5,000. Watch the net over on the right hand side. When I hit enter, automatically updates. Now like you learned with the copying, how you can grab the fill handle and copy across, you can do the same with formulas. Formulas are relative exactly the same way the sum function was that we took a look at earlier in class. So I'm going to grab the little fill handle here, you see in the lower right hand corner. My mouse turns into a black thin crosshair, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag that all the way down. And you can see how it is calculating all the way down. If I select P6, you're going to see the formulas are relative. If I go to P7, you can see the formulas up here and how they're relative. So we've got net right there. So really what we have left to do is we have some formatting. I think most of you feel pretty comfortable with the formatting, but we'll just format just a little bit. A couple things that I want to show to you would be we're going to take a look here, and we talked about text entries and how by default they're aligned to the left. Numbers by default you can see aligned to the right. We're going to grab all of the column labels. So once again, to select a range, you want to select B4. Position your mouse inside B4, and we're going to drag it all the way across. So we're grabbing all of our column labels. I want to center those. So if you go to the alignment group in your home ribbon and you click on your center align button, you can see your column headings are centered. Okay. And then a fast way to format, you can change the font. Let's say we want it bold. You can click on bold and you can see how it bolded the column headings. Okay, but also there's the style group. So, formatting you have over here, but you have a style group over here on the home ribbon, and you see where it says Cell Styles? Click on that, and there's a multitude of styles. So for example, maybe we want to apply the heading 3 style. We'll click on that. And a style by definition is multiple formatting attributes saved with a name. Multiple formatting attributes saved with a name. So the multiple formatting attributes, you see how it changed the color, it added a bottom border. We applied bold and center already, but you can see how it changes our headings. Okay, there's also, we should apply that to sales reps as well. So if you select A4, go to Cell Styles, this is a good practice. Apply the heading 3 style. You can see that there as well. Okay, there's also a total row style. So if you grab and select the range, once again, I'm going to start on A10, and I'm going to drag it all the way across to cell B10. Okay, and I'm going to go up to the style group in the home ribbon, click on Cell Styles, and notice there's a total row style. Again, multiple formatting attributes saved under a name. In this case, it's called total. And when I take a look at that, you see the single underline above, the double underline below. You've got the total row, and it's also bolded. It's looking good. It's looking good. Okay, the other thing that we can do with this is we can apply some number formats. Now, in the home ribbon, there's a number group. You've got an accounting style, you've got a percentage style, and you have a comma style. You can also increase and decrease the decimals. We'll talk about that in a later class. But for the total row numbers, we'll select B10 through P10. And when you apply this one right here, the accounting number format, click on that. You can see it adds the American dollar symbol, applies commas where appropriate, and will round those numbers to a 2-digit decimal in a single click of a finger. Perfect for subtotals and grand totals. You can see that. Okay, now the rest of our other numbers, so if I select the range, we'll start with cell B5, and we'll highlight B5 through P9. We're going to apply the second style, which would be the comma style. Now the comma style is a lot like the accounting style, but minus the dollar symbol. So if you take a look at that, you've got commas where appropriate, and it rounds to a 2-digit decimal. Okay, so it's actually looking pretty good. Okay, now the other problem that we see here is if you take a look at column A, you're seeing that the column label is cut off a little bit. Also like Thompson, you can see, you can't see Thompson very well. So one thing that you can do to widen the column is to position your mouse between the columns. In this case, it's A and B. Position your mouse there, press and hold. And you see the width right now? You see how it's changing in that tooltip? 8.719. We're going to move it till it's about as close to 11 as we can get it. So as close to 11 as we can get it. And you can see now how it's wide enough to be able to see those. We'll select cell A1 and we'll apply another style, the title style. So if I go into Cell Styles, you take a look at the title style, take a look at how it changes the data in A1. Now we may want to have our subtitle look the same way, so we'll go to Cell Styles, select Title Style. Okay, but what we want to do is we want to lessen the size so our subtitle isn't quite as large as our title. If you take a look at our title, it's an 18 point. The title style changes the size to 18 point. We're going to go to A2 and we're going to change the style from 18 point. Notice the smaller the number, the smaller it appears. Okay, we'll make it about a 14 point. And then we'll click to deselect. So if you can do that much, that's great. The last thing that we want to do is we want to create our pie chart. So we're going to scroll. What we're going to do is we're going to select a non-adjacent range. So what we want to do is we want to select our sales reps, and we want to chart their total gross sales. So we need to select a non-adjacent range to do that. So I'm going to highlight and I'm going to select the range from cell A4 through A9. You see I've got those cells selected. Now to select a non-adjacent range, so you want to select your first block of cells, I'm going to click on the control key and I'm going to press the control key down and I'm going to highlight N4 through N9. So if you take a look, I'm not going to click anywhere, I've got two non-adjacent blocks of cells selected. I'm going to go to the Insert tab and I'm going to create a chart, a three-dimensional pie chart, and I'm going to click right there. So you see my pie chart, I can see my sales reps in the legend. I can see my pie chart right there. Now notice how Excel centers that chart over the data. So what I want to do, I like to point to the edge. It's like a graphic, it can move. I'm going to drag it down below the data. And I'm going to move it over here. Okay, the last thing that I'd like to see you to do in your homework assignment is I'd like you to change some of the attributes or some of the elements of the pie chart. So notice these smart tags. When you've got the pie chart selected, you see these smart tags. You also see contextual ribbons. We'll talk more about that later. If you click away from the chart like I did there, it disappears. When you click on the chart, you see it again. Okay, this little plus symbol is your chart element. So when you click on that, you want to add data labels. Now the data labels you see are the various sums. We want to see this in terms of percentages. So I'm going to point to data labels. I'm going to click on the arrow and a submenu opens. I'm going to go down and I'm going to click on more options. And it opens up more options in a task pane you see over on the right hand side. We're going to deselect value and we're going to select percent. Okay, we're also going to select the category names. So you see how it adds the sales reps and you can see what percent of the total that they've sold. Okay, the other thing I want to do under label position, which is down a little further in your task pane, is I want these labels on the outside end of the pie chart. So if you see that there, let's move the labels on the outside of the pie chart. You can clearly see who is your top producer right here in Thompson. Okay, your lowest producer is Brown. Now because we've added these labels, we really don't need the legend. You know, you see Smith is yellow. You know, there's no reason why you need this legend here. So what you can do is go back to that chart elements button. And when you click on that, you see legend is checked. If you uncheck it, it removes the legend. Now I'm going to click away from my chart. I'm going to close my task pane. There's one last thing I want to show you and then we're finished. I want to move this chart to a different worksheet. Right now the chart is embedded in sheet number 1. There's only one worksheet. When you select the chart, notice you see some chart tools that appears. These are called contextual ribbons. What we want to do is go to the Design Contextual Ribbon and the very last button in the Location group. You can move your chart. We're going to move the chart. We're going to embed it in a new sheet. We'll call the new sheet the default name Chart 1 and we'll choose OK. So you see we've got Sheet 1 and we've got Chart 1. Now you see how it placed the Chart 1 before the sheet? I'm going to point to Chart 1 and I'm going to drag it over to the right hand side. You see I'm just dragging the tab over. So now I've got the sheet before the chart. Finally, the last thing we will do is rename the worksheet. So we already renamed chart 1 once we moved chart 1. To rename your worksheet, you can either right-click on the Sheet 1 tab and you see Rename, or you can simply double-click on the Sheet tab. I'm going to double-click. Okay, it's waiting for us to rename the worksheet. We'll call it, let me double-click it again. Sales, S-A-L-E-S, and then I'm going to hit Enter. Once again, we're going to save our work. And with this added video and this added information, you should be able to complete all the steps numbers 1 through 10 in the assignment folder, assignment number 06.2. If you have any questions, certainly reach out to me and make it a great week.